Should be good to go.
All right, there we go. Thanks everyone for joining us, Coach. Good morning. Um, we'll give you the floor, and then we'll open it up to questions.
All right, guys, thanks for joining me today, this afternoon. Well, not quite yet, not there yet, 11 o'clock. Just want to give you guys an update on where we are, specifically with the defensive line. I think, obviously through 2 games, um, you know, I think the guys are practicing well, most importantly. Um, I appreciate the effort and the enthusiasm that the guys bring to the preparation. One quote that I always give them from Tom Coughlin, Hall of Fame coach Tom Coughlin, is you got to be humble enough to prepare, but then confident enough to perform. And I've got no problem with the way that our guys have handled that just through fall camp and coming into the first 2 games. Obviously, disappointing last week that we didn't get the win. But the guys, it stings a lot more if you are not satisfied with the effort that you put in. And our guys don't have that issue. I think the guys are playing hard. I think everybody's embraced their role, and really trying to find a way, whether it be through defense, whether it be through special teams, whatever time, anytime they get a chance to get on the field, they're trying to affect the game in a positive light, so that we can win the game. Obviously, early on we've been hit with the injury bug a little bit with Y.A. Black being out and Noah Shannon in and out of the lineup, but that's part of the coaching and that's part of the development. You have to make sure that guys are ready to go behind them. And you don't just put guys out in the field just to take reps. They know that when they're out there, they got to be productive. They know that there's a standard to uphold, and the guys that we put out there, I'm fully confident in, are ready to do it. Now it's up to them when they get out there to actually do the performing. But if they're out there, you best believe I have full confidence in them. So, we're looking forward to the challenge this week. We talk about improving every single week. We don't live and die with each game. All we try to do is go out and play better the week before, and control the things that we can control up front, and for us defensively, and the guys have accepted that challenge. It's a really good group to work with, led by the seniors, Joe Evans, John Wagner, Noah Shannon. I just can't thank those guys enough for the attitude and the effort that they bring every day, and everybody else behind them are following suit. It's a really good group to coach, and it feels good to come in there every day and not have to worry about, okay, whose buttons am I going to have to push today to get the best out of them. These guys are self-starters, and I appreciate that. With that being said, I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Coach. Our first question is from Scott Docterman.
Hey, Kelvin, how you doing?
Great. How about you?
Good. I'm doing great. It seems like to me that your first 2 games this year versus your first 2 games last year, it's almost night and day in the way you guys have played. Because last year you were very inexperienced. They went out and they did a lot of athletic moves, and they did a good job of it. But this year they seem to be playing much more confidently within the scheme and what you're trying to teach them fundamentally. In what ways have they grown, and is it easy to calculate for you and document?
You guys have heard me talk before about, the areas that I would like to see them grow. It's not so much physical with those guys as much as it is mental. And that's where they've grown. Sometimes you've got to be smarter than the call. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear you say that, but there's some things that, we may call, or something that may be called, maybe I call it, maybe Coach Parker calls it, where our guys are old enough, they've seen enough football, they've prepared enough throughout the week to recognize that this might not be the best thing for us to do right now. And as a group, all 4 guys are able to be on the same page and either go with it or get out of it. Those are the things that make coaching really, really easy when you have guys that are able to adjust to what you call, so that we're successful as a defense. And I think that's something that when you're dealing with older guys, when you're dealing with guys, like I said, the Joe Evans, Noah Shannon, John Wagner, Logan Lee, those guys have played a lot of football. Just their ability to recognize things, not individually, but together, for them to recognize things collectively, I think that's what sets us apart this year from last year.
David Eicholt.
Hey, Kelvin, appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Logan Lee just seems like he's been in the backfield time and time again. He was a really solid player last year, but really seems like through 2 games he's really kind of raised his game. How would you kind of assess him through 2 games? And I guess what did you see during the offseason that would give you the confidence that you can make that jump?
I guess through the last 2 games, I would agree. Just in terms of you look at the stat sheet, we talk about trying to get as many numbers as we can across those lines: tackles, assisted tackles, PBUs, sacks, tackles for loss. He's definitely done a better job from last year at being a more productive player. I think what lends to that is, again, it goes back to the preparation. And I don't want to knock like the weight room or anything like that. There's got to be a physical preparation that gives you a certain amount of confidence, but that mental preparation too, of just recognizing just certain tendencies that the offense is going to give you. It helps you play faster. It helps you play more confidence, and it really helps you make more calculated risks than you would if you didn't know. So just through his preparation in the classroom, in the meeting room, in the film, I think what you're starting to see is a guy that's playing confident, a guy that's eliminating things that he's going to get based off in every snap and playing fast. I think that's what you're seeing.
John Steppe.
Hey, Kelvin, how's it going?
John, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So, what step have you seen Lucas Van Ness take now as a sophomore?
Well, Lucas, again, he's doing some really good things for us defensively. Whether he's played snaps inside, he's played snaps outside. Obviously, he's made his contributions on special teams, and really, that takes a physical toll on a guy, but it's also a mental toll. I mean, you have to think about the game plan that he has to understand for us, not just outside and inside, and add an extra layer of special teams preparation on that as well. That says a lot. And let's not forget, this is not a professional football player. This guy's carrying 14 hours of class and all the things that go on along with that too. Let's not forget that. So he's got an incredible load on him right now, but it wouldn't be there if the guy couldn't handle it. And just his impact that he's having for us defensively, being able to play up and down the line of scrimmage, which helps me with depth, and the impact that he's having on our team from a special team standpoint, you can't overstate that enough. And I give a lot of credit to Coach Woods, not to go on a tangent, but the way that he runs the special teams, and everybody has an opportunity. Everybody on the team has an opportunity to contribute to special teams. I talk to the guys about playing in the NFL all the time. Not that it's the end goal, but there's only 53 guys on those rosters. Okay, and then there's of those 53 guys, only 48 get to dress. So if you're not Aaron Donald or if you're not Khalil Mack, then you're probably contributing on special teams when you're at that level. And that's the message that I want to get to my guys. Like, guys, you may not be defensive end 1, 2, or 3, but there's an opportunity for you to make an impact on this team on special teams, and you got to show up. And Lucas has definitely done that. He's taken that message to heart.
Kenny Smith.
Good morning, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
Good to see you, Kenny.
I have a bit of a 2-part question. So first, I want to ask you about Louis Stepp, kind of his rise to a role where he's playing now. And then the second part of that, with YA out, with Noah battling injuries, you talk about developing depth and having confidence. Who are the guys, alongside Louis, behind him on that next line that should be ready to step up if more injuries occur?
Yeah, well, Louis came in. Louis camped with us. I forget, it may have been the summer of 2018, Louis camped, and I wasn't here. I was out at a satellite camp. And then when Reese retired and I took over the D-line job, we had a walk-on that Coach said we're going to have a walk-on kid show up here, Louis Steck. He was at camp, and I didn't know. I had no idea because I wasn't at the camp, so I didn't recognize him. But when he came here, he was a kid he was no nonsense. Hardly ever saw the kid crack a smile. But every day he showed up, one of the first guys out to practice, one of the last guys to leave, and always asking questions. In the spring of 2021, we were depleted. We were down maybe to 6, 7 defensive linemen on a good day, and Louis was one of those guys that practiced every single day, every single rep. And so just through that, the work that he's put in, and the highest compliment that I can give Louis is that I trust him. and I trust him to do what he's supposed to do. And so that, with that being said, that's why he's in the position that he's in. Like, he's a guy that's, is he tall enough? No. Is he big enough? No. Is he fast enough? No. Okay, all those things aside, but he's a guy that I trust to do the job when it needs to be done. Now, going to answer the second part of that question from a depth standpoint, I mean, obviously, the next guy that I would put in would be Lucas. Lucas is, he rotates out with those guys at end, but he's also familiar with playing inside as well. And he can help buy me some time while Jeremiah Pittman and Aaron Graves continue their development. Both those guys are doing a really good job. They take a lot of practice reps because that's the only way that they're going to get better. That's the only way that they're going to gain their confidence, is doing it in practice. And I've been pleased with what I've seen, and hopefully both those guys will get a chance to show their work this weekend.
Ed Lystico.
Good morning, Kelvin. Real quick, do you have a time frame when you expect YA Black to be back from the foot surgery?
I do not. So, he's up, he's walking around, he looks like $1 million, but I'm not thinking about, man, when I get this guy back. I just have to make sure it's kind of a blessing in disguise to be able to get these other guys ready to go. I think it's really going to help us because the other guys are going to get opportunities, not necessarily in the game, but just in practice. The herd is kind of thinned out a little bit, where these guys are getting much needed reps that they wouldn't have gotten had both him and Noah Shannon been available to practice.
And then my real question was, Logan Lee played 71 snaps the other day. I know you don't throw guys out there to get reps, as you've said. Do you think that is sustainable, or do you need to kind of throw a Graves out there or something like that here and there just to spell him, considering that's a pretty heavy workload?
I think it's absolutely sustainable.
There you go. Thanks.
Back to Scott Dockerman.
Yeah, I have kind of two parts here. One is the complementary style of football that Iowa plays. How does it work in tandem with a punter like Tory Taylor, and how does that help you? And then the other part is, how does a middle linebacker like Jack Campbell help the defensive line and the experience and the high level of play that he has?
Well, I consider Tory Taylor part of our defense. He may be in the specialist category, but I consider him part of our defense because what he does in terms of field position really puts us at an advantage in the style of defense that we play, where we want to limit the big play. To beat us, it's going to be what you see. If we're playing the way that we're supposed to play, to beat us, it's going to be what you saw versus Michigan State in 2015 in that Big Ten championship game. It's going to be what you saw Iowa State do in terms of being able to sustain and execute for 20 some odd plays against our defense. He gives us the ability to do that. So I consider him part of our defense. He's invaluable, and as long as he puts it back there, I know he's going to give us a shot. Not only to create a 3-and-out, but create positive field position for our offense. And in terms of Jack Campbell, I consider Jack Campbell our 5th defensive lineman. I mean, we play with 4, but he's number 5 because when he's on the line of scrimmage, when he's fitting on the line of scrimmage with us, I mean, you're talking about 5 of the best that we have on the team at the line of scrimmage all at one time. So, love Jack. Tried to get Jack. Jack will tell you the first time he camped at Iowa, he camped as a defensive lineman. I don't know how I lost that battle, but I did. But him playing Mike linebacker, actually, it's actually the best of both worlds because I get him a lot, especially in those run fits.
John Steppe.
When you're able to rotate a lot of guys like Louis Stecken, how helpful is that long term when you get to week 11, week 12?
That's a great point, John, because I tell the guys it's a long season, and I don't say that begrudgingly. I say that so to put them in the mindset that it's not a sprint, and that what's going on, what's happening right now is actually going to set us up and help us later on. I was talking with Broderick Benz last week, and he talked about back when he played with Claiborne and those guys, when they had 5, maybe 6 deep, sometimes 7, that, okay, week 1, week 2, yeah, this is good, but week 11, week 12, all right, you're still sending the same 5 guys out there. The tread is about worn off that tire. So absolutely, from a longevity standpoint, over the course of 12 games that we're guaranteed, the rotation, as long as guys are healthy and guys are productive, the rotation will be beneficial for us all season long.
Kenny?
Coach, wanted you to elaborate a little bit more on Aaron Graves and kind of how he's developing off of a fall camp where we heard that he did a lot of good things, and then the update on the other 2 freshmen in the room, different positions, but Caden Crawford and Brian Allen, who were early enrollees.
Okay, yeah, Aaron, again, Aaron's got tremendous football instinct, and physically he is, ahead of a lot of guys that come in his class, not just talking about defensive linemen, I'm just talking about just in general. The kid has got some really good weight room numbers. But it's a different game from from college to high school. It's a different game. He's going up against different guys, and that's the part that he has to understand. He's got to understand. He's trying to understand where he fits in the defense, where he comes from a system where he made a lot of people right. In this system, you just need to do your job. You need to focus on doing your thing to the best of your ability, because we have other guys that can they're trying to take care of their job too. So it's a process, just like it is with all freshmen. 17, 18 years of bad habits to break. Less than that of bad football habits to break. So, but he approaches every day with a good attitude, with great effort and a good attitude. And the older guys are really helping him as well. So, his time is coming. He just got to make sure that when his number's called, that he's ready to go. And the other young guys, Brian Allen and Caden Crawford, both those guys, although early enrolled, are doing a really good job on the scout team. I think Brian Allen and Dom Weissman were both the defensive scout team players of the week last week versus Iowa State. I had another walk-on kid. Andrew Krause was the defensive scout team player of the week versus South Dakota State. So it's always good when your young guys are being recognized by the offense for their performance through the week on the look teams. That makes me feel good as a coach. I know the future's bright.
Hey, Coach, I see one more hand, and then we'll call it quits. Scott Doctorman.
I wanted to ask you about Logan Lee's maturity. I mean, we all know he's a married guy now, but he also seems like the type of guy that he'd come over and snow blow your driveway without asking and stuff. He just has this 35-year-old guy aura to him. What's he like to deal with on a personal level, and how does that kind of aura kind of exude itself, on the practice field and beyond?
Logan is extremely transparent. Like, he's transparent with his feelings. He's transparent with what he knows and what he doesn't know. He's another guy that I trust. And he's a guy that wants to know why. You have to explain the why to him. You can tell him how to do it, but he wants to know why. And once he understands that why, he's got a different level of understanding that's going to take his performance to the next level. He's one of the guys that I recommended this summer. I know him and Kelvin went down to Selma, Alabama. He's a guy I recommended that he